Did we already start? Oh,
Yes, we did. And it
I
is
normally
time.
do good on this, but I messed up. I meant to tell you something, but then I forgot, and then never mind. Go ahead. Do you
It's
think?
all right, man. Hey, just get me after the show.
Okay.
So it's time to breathe again on the latest Breath of Fresh Air webcast live edition. Well, I guess we're always live now, so I shouldn't even have to say that now.
Mine is
But
short.
yeah, exactly. But it is me, Charles, and Patrick for today. Um, Lots to get into, Patrick, especially with football going on. First
Mhm.
week of the NFL just happened, just concluded. Where are you going?
Got to find me a pillow to sit on.
So lots going on in the first week of the NFL, and we will get to that here in a little bit. But first, let's talk about week 2 of college football. So you know how we do, Patrick. We review what happened from last Saturday, preview what's coming up this Saturday. So let's start with the review. What stood out for you this past week?
Well, I'm not just gonna talk about this past week. I'm gonna talk about the week prior as well because it was a little bit more of a is
It
a
was
little
our NFL preview last week,
yeah.
so we
But
talked.
so I want to catch up on 2 weeks. But I'm not gonna harp on a lot of things. I'm gonna really go into them. But I want to mention out games in week 1 that I saw, and then I'll mention games in week 2 that I saw. And I'm not going to go in depth. I've mentioned like 2 or 3 in each week. But I want to start with week 1, and I want to start off with Alabama versus Miami. And let me tell you, I don't care what anybody said about Miami gonna give Alabama a good game. I called shenanigans on that crap. I mean, even Vegas had, I think it was a 19-point spread. I was like, no, no, my Alabama is going to beat the crap out of Miami, and they did. Now, with that being said, a lot of people are looking at Bryce Young saying, "Oh man, he was on point. He looked good. He looked good." But I kind of expected more from an Alabama quarterback. Personal opinion. Now, is he going to grow? Absolutely. Is he worth $1 million worth of NIL sponsorships that he's got as of right now? I wouldn't go that far. But Alabama looked pretty good. They looked pretty strong, and they were super fast.
Well,
Uh,
Patrick, real quick. So with the NIL thing, I mean, is that the same as a contract though? I mean, because that's kind of an outside source. They're not. It's not like Alabama is paying them.
no, Alabama's not paying them, but it's still a contract because it's a contract with the vendors that you're using. So even though it's not a contract with Alabama, you still Alabama's still going to use it to their advantage. They are. I mean, Nick Saban's like, I got this guy. I can whisper some names out there, and you come to Alabama, and I can make you some money. You know what I mean? Um, so I kind of look at it like that from a organizational standpoint. But no, Bryce, they have to sign contracts with whoever is sponsoring them. I mean, JT Daniels signed a contract with Zaxby's.
It's still not coming out of the college's
No,
pocket.
no, 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 no. I'm just saying, if you look at it from any organizational standpoint that is, paying this kid to play and use his name, I'm just saying, if I'm Zaxby's, I can tell you right now, whatever they offer JT Daniels, he better do something different because I ain't paying him to let the defense score 7 points. I'm paying him to go out there and do his thing. That's all I'm
Right.
saying. That's what I mean by that. Yeah, it's not coming out of the school's budget, but still, you want people to watch. I want people to watch you, and there's a reason why. Better go out there and make my money. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So, but no, it's not coming out of the college's budget. And if I made it sound like that, that's not what I meant. I meant it by, if I'm paying this kid to use his NIL, his name, image, and likeness, if I'm paying him to do it, I want him to produce on the field so that it produces off the field, is what I'm saying.
Okay, understand.
That's what I mean by it. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Second game. I'm telling you, if I didn't call it, I'm going to tell you I'm calling it now. North Carolina, Virginia Tech. Not sold on that North Carolina offense, defense, special teams, bench players. I don't even think they mix Gatorade right in North Carolina right now. So, no.
But is that all right? That game, to me, a lot of people want to say that was an upset, and I know based off of the rankings, I guess it is, but it really isn't. It's Virginia
it's not.
Tech. They're at home, and Blacksburg is one of the toughest spots to play at in college football. It was very, very possible North Carolina was going to lose this game. It didn't surprise me at all either. Now, I mean, does that speak? Maybe North Carolina shouldn't have been ranked that high, and if you want to make that argument, I can understand it. But that's a tough game for anybody.
Yeah, and
on a Friday night at Blacksburg. I mean, yeah,
and it is. I mean, yes, it is a tough play. It's a tough environment to play in. It is, and I just, regardless of where they're playing, I felt, even if Virginia Tech was playing in North Carolina, I think Virginia Tech wins that game, personally. And then the third game, Georgia Clemson, obviously. I got to talk about that one. If that was not a defensive showdown for the ages, man, I don't know what was, because both of those teams were absolutely defensively phenomenal. I have never seen that much speed on the defensive side on both sides of in my life. That was phenomenal. Neither quarterback was comfortable in the pocket all night, and honestly, there was only one mistake that I saw the entire game, and that was the pick six. So, but I just wanted to mention that Clemson's defense, even playing against what they said is supposed to be a high-powered offense in Georgia, man, that was a good game. I was yelling and screaming and lost my voice and everything. So I just wanted to mention those three games. So that's week one.
All right, go ahead with week two.
Well, really, this one was I didn't really get to watch a lot of these games because I had painters in the house painting the house. But a lot of the teams were playing. A lot of the top 5-10 teams were playing what we call cupcake games, except for Oregon and Ohio State, which made me very, very happy that Oregon came in and put it on Ohio State. So that's really the biggest game that I saw of last week that I got to pay attention to. That was that sticks out in my mind.
Yeah. So going back to week one, I'm with you with the three games that you recapped: Alabama, Miami, Georgia, Clemson, and North Carolina, Virginia Tech. I said that the Virginia Tech playing at home Friday night, first time back with fans back in there now. That wasn't shocking to me at all with North Carolina losing that game. Same thing with Alabama and Miami. People need to stop with the whole "the U is back" train. They're not. And I don't know when they're ever going to return, to be real. Miami has a long way to go. It is just that simple. And really, it was brutally evident because you're going against what a lot of us will say is the best team in the nation. And they got smashed like that. They're not close. They're not ready yet. Yeah, they probably still cannot beat Clemson in the ACC. Probably still can. I wouldn't pick them to beat North Carolina right now, or Virginia Tech, or maybe even NC State. Like I would,
Or
Miami.
Georgia Tech, whichever.
Yeah, the whole Pittsburgh. Like I would, I wouldn't pick Miami to win any of those games right now. So let's get off that train. That train has sailed. We need to get loose on it. I mean, it's so bad, Patrick. They were down 27-0, and they wanted to break out the turnover chain. Give me a break.
Yeah, I know.
Getting whooped. That's enough with Miami. Out of here. Alabama did what Alabama does. They play these games in the opening weekend, and they just make a statement that, hey, we're not giving you anything. You're going to have to take it from us. And one thing about Nick Saban that I'll say before I get to Georgia and Clemson, Nick Saban, when you look at his staff, he always has guys calling plays, offensive or defensive coordinators who have actually been in the NFL. So that's the difference. This is even going back to Lane Kiffin, because people forget Lane Kiffin, before he coached at Tennessee and USC, he was the coach of the Oakland Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, even going back there, and then Steve Sarkisian, obviously, he was y'all offensive coordinator with the Atlanta Falcons for a little bit. And now, of course, he's the coach in Texas. More on us in a minute. And then, and then, now you got Bill O'Brien calling the plays. And we know he was the coach of Houston. Not a great one, but he has NFL experience. And so now he's calling the plays. So he's offensive coordinator there. So Nick Saban always has that staff around him on top of what he does with building the culture, and then he's able to get the players there. It's just really, really tough to beat Alabama year in and year out. And the thing about it is just that consistency. Nobody can never take that away. There's just the consistency that has been there. I think, Patrick, and you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but every SEC championship game Nick Saban and them has been in, I think they've only lost one, and that was 2008 to Florida and Tim Tebow. Every other one they've been in, they've won. And so
that actually sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, if I need to go back and look that up, drop it in the comments. I'll go back. Because that was going to be a tough one to find. I mean, it won't be tough to find. It just
go down. Just
the show right now, and I don't want to take away from the show right now.
Yeah, and I hear you, man. And well, I guess you could just go and just Google SEC championship game, and it'll pop up all the results from them. But I really think, and just off the top of my head, that's the only one Nick Saban has lost since he's been back coaching in college or with Alabama anyway. So I mean, yeah, that consistency is just ridiculous. Finally, Georgia and Clemson. Yeah, defensive struggle. I loved it. I love watching. I love defense. So I was all about it. I think Georgia. So one thing I'll say about Georgia is their offense, I think, will improve. I think JT Daniels will be a little bit better. Georgia was missing their top 2-3 receivers as well. So, I mean, I think they're going to get better offensively as they go along, to where at least they can score 20-something points, 20, let's just say 25 to 30 points. That'll probably be enough for that defense. I mean, that defense is nasty. So really, they just need JT Daniels not to turn the ball over, take care of the football, and they should be fine. I see a collision course with them and Bama in the SEC championship game. Of course, we talked about it. Game with Kentucky, very tricky. Game with Florida, tricky. They got to go to Auburn too, very tricky. So I mean, it's not like Georgia should go through unscathed, but that's a big win against Clemson to set the tone. Week 2, yeah, Oregon and Ohio State, man. Oregon, this is something that we could not say about pretty much any team in the Pac-12. They were physical in the trenches.
Yes.
Oregon was physical in the line of scrimmage. Normally, if they're playing Ohio State, or especially one of your better SEC teams, they were getting dominated in the trenches because it's big, fast people against small, fast people. You're going to take the big, fast people every time.
Yeah,
and so,
absolutely.
but Oregon looked like the more physical team. I know the quarterback for Ohio State, Stroud, JT Stroud, he put up some numbers, but it's his second start. If you're Oregon, your main thing was to do what they did, take away the running game and make that dude have to throw. I know Ohio State has some throwing, they have some weapons. They got Olave and Wilson, they got good receivers. But right now, what Oregon exploited to me when it comes to Ohio State is there's a little identity crisis going on. I don't think they know if they want to be a power running team or they want to try to spread it all down the field. Now, I'm not ready to say somebody is going to unseat them in the Big Ten. So I mean, I guess that's the thing about it because it is a non-conference loss. It's still gonna be hard to see who in the conference can knock them out. But I can give Penn State a slight shot. I can give Iowa a slight shot for sure. I can't say Michigan yet.
Not quite yet. Not quite yet. Now, look, we had this conversation a couple of days ago, and Michigan looked good. But no, by no means are we gonna say they are coming in for the dethroning of Ohio State. No, I still feel, in my personal opinion, I still feel this is Ohio State and the rest of the conference. I still feel that way. But I do want to give credit where credit's due because as well as anybody that's watching this show, I am very hard on the Pac-12 on not showing up to games. Pac-12, y'all showed up to that Ohio State, and I am so glad to see that. I love seeing the physicality that comes from West Coast offenses. I mean, and defenses. I mean, normally we're watching all of these West Coast teams in the NFL. Yes, I know that's spread out across the country, whether you got them from the East Coast or West Coast. I get that, but West Coast is always smash mouth football, and it was the Pac-12 bringing that in, and hey, I liked it. I liked it a lot, and it's not only because Oregon took out one of my top 3 most hated teams. It's because I liked the dominance. I liked the physicality. I liked what Oregon was doing, and I hope to see more of that from the Pac-12 because UCLA played very well as well. So.
Yeah, against LSU. And the thing with Oregon also, so they were coming off, even going to Columbus, they were coming off a game last week where they had to play Fresno State. So now for those of y'all who are big college football fans, which I'm sure that's a lot of y'all, the way y'all talk about it. If that's the case, y'all know Fresno State is one of those teams that they're not scared of anybody. They will go anywhere to play you, and they will beat you up. That is a physical team. And Oregon them before having to come cross country to Columbus to play Ohio State, and they won that game. So Oregon, UCLA, those are the 2 teams I'm looking at. If someone's going to arise from the Pac-12, yeah, I think it's going to be one of those teams. And the way it's looking, they will probably meet for the Pac-12 championship in that conference championship game. If I was to sit there and look at it right now, a lot of football left, I get it, but those 2 teams right now look pretty good.
Made a huge statement, so good for Oregon and good for UCLA.
And man, Iowa, give them credit. They went to Iowa State, won that game, but pretty convincingly, actually. I mean, I know the score was, I think 27-17 was the final score, but Iowa won, and they solidly won that game. Like the final score really did not indicate how dominant Iowa was.
They really were. Yeah, I agree. That's right.
Now, go ahead.
Before you get on your Texas Longhorns, I do want to mention one more game that I completely forgot about. Stanford and USC. That was a good game. That was a really good game. I didn't get to watch the game, but I caught the highlights. And let me tell you, I don't think I've ever seen so many highlights in my freaking life on one game.
Stanford was putting it on USC, man. I
Put
mean,
it on.
because I did get to watch a little bit of that game because I was going back and forth between that game and I think Utah and BYU was on at the same time. So I was going back and forth between that one and BYU, good win against Utah too. So
yeah, very good win. That was a solid win for BYU. I'd say that.
Absolutely. And I gotta do it, Patrick. I gotta get to the Longhorns because
I'm ready, man, because I expected so much more from this team.
Well, Patrick, you know me. I told you about Texas and how there is a long, long way to go. This game shows that because Arkansas, you talk about domination in the trenches. Arkansas dominated us in the trenches. Over 300 yards rushing.
Mm-hmm.
That is a physical dissection what Arkansas gave us, man. And I told people because people was like, "Oh, Texas is playing Arkansas." I said, "Dude, that is a dangerous game." So for those of y'all who do not know the rivalry between Texas and Arkansas, these are battles from it goes back. This is back to the old Southwest Conference days, and that SEC chant that you hear at a lot of games when the SEC teams win. That was actually born from Arkansas because they when in basketball they won the last Southwest Conference basketball tournament, and as they were going away, they brought out the SEC chant, and that was where it was born at.
Not many people know that. That's a good history lesson because that was Texas and Arkansas goes back almost as long, maybe a little longer actually, than Auburn, Georgia. And that's, I mean, I remember the first time I heard the SEC chant. I was like, where the hell did that come from? I went back and looked, and I was like, wow, that went way back. And they still do it today. Every single commercial. Like
it. And man, okay, are you there? Okay, cool. Yeah, it kind of froze up on me. I'm sorry.
Freeze up again that time?
A little bit, yeah, but it's coming back. It's coming back. I think with so going up to Fayetteville, that was going to be a tough game because of that history. And anytime Arkansas can throw dirt on our grave, they ain't gonna do it. Simply put, man. So big picture though, Patrick, this is one of those things where, again, just like we said with Ohio State, non-conference loss. Texas has a lot of work to do. They're going to start a new quarterback. It's going to be Casey Thompson instead of Hudson Card. Personally, I felt like Casey Thompson should have been starting from the beginning. I guess from the discussions that was happening, Card was better diagnosing coverages. And that's big with Steve Sarkisian, especially coming from Alabama and having Mac Jones there. So it was just one of those things where he said Card was better reading the coverages, but the spark wasn't there. It's like when Casey Thompson comes in there, there's a little bit of spark. Now, don't get me wrong, the game was over. I mean, he came in, it was 33-7. But when he came in there was just a little bit more juice because he can create a few things with his legs. And I think for this particular team, Texas needs that. They need that extra dynamic right now. So they're going to play Rice. They should beat Rice. And then it's Big 12 conference play. We'll see how that goes. But physical dissection, really tough loss. I'm sure Texas is probably still licking those wounds from that ass kicking they took.
Yeah. But you know what? It's really good because Sarkisian is going to go for the SEC, and there's a reason why. There's many reasons why. One, Texas is coming over to the SEC in a few years. I say 2, but most people are still saying 4. I still guess say 2. It would not surprise me at the end of this year they go ahead and opt for it and come on over. But that's one. 2. we all know the SEC is a great place to find out where your team stands, what you need to work on, because at the end of the day, SEC is the toughest conference in the NCAA right now. With that being said, I can see where Sarkisian is coming from and what he wants to do, because this gives him a lot of data to start making Texas better. And if you're going to make Texas better and you're wanting to compete in the SEC several years to come, then you better start doing what it takes to compete in the SEC right now. And I feel that Sarkisian is going to head in that direction. And I don't know, it's going to be hard to see what Alabama does, because, y'all are still in the Big Ten. Or, I'm sorry, y'all are still in the Big 12. But coming over, I think Sarkisian is already starting to think, how are we going to compete in the SEC today? Not today. So let's schedule as many. Let's see where we stand so that we know when we're going in what we need to do. And it makes sense. I like where Texas is at right now. I mean, don't get me wrong. I expect them to do a little more, but I do like where they're at, and I do like their direction. So.
All right, Patrick, before we move on, man, what are you looking forward to for next week's college games?
Well, I mean, Georgia starts their conference play this week.
South Carolina, right?
South Carolina. Alabama. I really look forward to that Alabama-Florida game, and I'm looking forward to there's another Auburn and Penn State. I am looking forward to that one as well. Past that, UCLA and Fresno. We'll see how that one goes, but I would probably say those are the three teams that I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, the Alabama-Florida one will definitely be interesting. I mean, obviously, you have Florida or Alabama coming down to the swamp. So it'll be interesting to see what Florida is working with. I haven't seen too much of Florida. I saw some of their game against South Florida the other day. I want to see how they are replacing all those weapons that they lost last year. Kyle Trask, Kyle Pitts, Darius Toney, all those guys went to the NFL. So I want to see how they're replacing them. This will be a very good test against that Bama defense. And hey, they'll be ready. I mean, Dan Mullen will have them ready to play. So we'll see where it goes. Auburn and Penn State, like you said, that's an interesting one. This is the first time, I think this is the first time ever Auburn has come up there to State College. So that will be how Penn State does their whiteout game. That will be the whiteout game, I guess. So should be hostile environment Auburn is going into, and we'll see how Bo Nix and that offense does. Auburn also has a new coach in place with Brian Harsin. So it's big test. Yeah, I see that being a defensive struggle too, honestly.
I wouldn't expect anything less.
Huh?
I said I wouldn't expect anything less. What'd you say?
I was going to say, I don't know if it's going to be Georgia Clemson defensive struggle, but I think.
Oh, no. I mean, if I was to put a score on that, I'm thinking like 27-20. I do think that there will be some scoring in that game, because I do think that their offenses are pretty stout. But it's not going to be no 55-54. I can tell you that.
So yeah, man, it should be interesting. And the one thing, real quick, before we move on to the NFL, the week 2. It was one of those weeks where it didn't look like there was any huge games. I mean, obviously, Oregon and Ohio State was based off of the ranks, was the biggest game that was on there. But other than that, it was just kind of one of those weeks where it's just like, okay, not too much going on. But normally those are the weeks where the craziest stuff happens. And so I think the college football season is going to be fun, just to see how all these teams start to match up. And then when you get in conference play, yeah, interesting. Going to be really interesting. Well, Patrick, NFL time, man. And let's just jump right into it. What jumped out for you for week one? Oh no. Okay. Before you go on, let's get all of the overreactions, the ridiculous overreactions we have heard out of the way. Green Bay is toast. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, that marriage is gone. Urban Meyer's going to be a disaster in Jacksonville. Buffalo was a sham from last year. they're a fraud because they lost to the Steelers now. What else have we? What other? Dallas is going to the Super Bowl because they competed with Tampa Bay well.
That was the best one I heard.
Jameis Winston is going to win MVP now.
He looked pretty good though. I will say that. Not, I wouldn't go that far yet, but he did look pretty good.
Here's the thing with that one, Patrick. He did throw for 5 touchdowns. I get it, but it was for 140 yards, and the Saints defense was really, really nasty. They set him up with some good.
Yeah, I think they said that the average starting field position for the Saints was like, it was either their own 45 or their opponent's 45, like average starting position of the field. I was like, you're working with half of the field, dude. That's it. I'm like, the defense was. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. 5 touchdowns. The reason why I say he looked good is because in comparison,
he did look good though. I'm not taking that away.
Yeah, he did look good, but he didn't like you said. He didn't throw for a lot of yardage, but he did look good in comparison to what he has looked in the past. That's what I was going based on. I mean, when you're 30 for 30, and they start a show after you, but now he looks like he's settled in a little bit. I feel that a lot of the things that Drew Brees brought to the table for him to see and to learn, that helped out a lot. I do want to see when he goes up against a harder defense how well he plays. But for week one, looked pretty good.
Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to think of all these other ridiculous overreactions that I was hearing after week one. Those are the main ones, and it's crazy. The Browns. A lot of people look. The Browns were a trendy Super Bowl pick for some people if they weren't picking Kansas City. Here's why. Like honestly, talking about that game, and we're gonna get into that game a little bit in a second when we talk about this situation with the coach and the player. But with Cleveland, this is honestly, Patrick, this is why I cannot put Cleveland as a Super Bowl contender. They're very, very good. And there's a possibility they could make it there. But here's why I'm gonna stop short of that. You had Kansas City down 22-10. You have to finish that game. You cannot let that game get away. And when it got to the clutch moments, I mean, Nick Chubb, great running back, but he fumbled.
Yeah.
The punter fumbled the snap, when they were up 29-27. And Baker Mayfield, now this part, I think people are being a little bit harsh on Baker Mayfield in this regard. The interception that he threw at the end, it looked really bad, but I think he was trying to throw the ball away, but he got tripped up while he was throwing it. So he couldn't get everything he wanted to on the ball, and it ended up in the Chiefs corner's hands. Having said that, that is the doubt with Baker Mayfield. When the chips are down, when you need him to come through and orchestrate a big time drive, can he do it?
Can he do it?
Consistent? We don't know that yet, and that right there is why. That's why I'm like, no, I don't know if I could put Cleveland there. Not yet. So long season, of course, but that right there, yeah, that's why I'm like, all right, man. This kind of verifies why I can't quite put Cleveland there. I'm just not all the way sold on Baker Mayfield to be that quarterback. If the running game is taken away, if Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt is not running as well, or it gets into a situation, where you need a 2-minute warning drive, can he do it? It's real
And
tough to say right now.
yeah, and I agree with you, but let's. I want to say, I do have. I did pick them to make the playoffs. I did.
I think they'll make the playoffs too.
But I want to see. I want to see what Cleveland does to a team that's not Kansas City first before I put them in Super Bowl caliber team, because first of all, it's week 1. They're going against Kansas City. We all know Kansas City is the team that's bringing it right now. How many times have you seen Kansas City losing at the half but end up winning the game? It doesn't matter how many battles you lose as long as you win the war. You know what I mean? And that's what I keep telling people is like, look, remember that year Tom Brady and when the Falcons playing the Patriots in the Super Bowl and everybody's like, oh, dude, 28-3, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, we can win as many battles as we want. But if we don't win the war, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So I want to see what Cleveland is bringing to the rest of the teams. I want to see how they play against the rest of the teams. Because, to me, I don't think Cleveland is quite Super Bowl ready, because that team playing the Chiefs is like, that's not a heavyweight bout to me. It's not Georgia and Alabama. You know what I mean? That is South Carolina, Georgia, and hopes that Georgia wins next week. It's just I don't see Cleveland as that heavyweight bout just yet. I'm with you. I want to see what Baker Mayfield does against other teams. I want to see Nick Chubb stop dropping the ball, because this is like very uncharacteristic of Chubb in every aspect of the game. He does not drop the ball. Like even in Georgia in his 4 years, I think he fumbled twice, all 4 years or all 3 years that he played. So this is not normal, but it's the first game. Okay, I would expect that Chubb doesn't fumble for the rest of the year. That's what I would expect coming from a running back that came from Georgia. I don't expect him to fumble again. But I'm with you. I think Cleveland. I'm not ready to put Cleveland in that realm yet.
That division, the AFC North, could be really, really tough, man. I know we talked about it during the NFL preview last week, but with Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Cincinnati, I think Cincinnati's going to surprise some people this year. They beat Minnesota on Sunday too. Joe Burrow looked pretty good after the first quarter. So, if he can stay healthy, Cincinnati is not going to be a team a lot of people are going to want to see. So that's going to be tough in the division. Speaking of the Ravens, the game on Monday night with the Las Vegas Raiders, that was a great game to me. And the Raiders people, from what I hear, I don't know. It seems like lately, Patrick, I've just been talking about how garbage, for the lack of a better word, the commentary is when it comes to these overreactions and the quote unquote analysis of these games. Mm-hmm. But the same thing, what I heard about this game mostly was, it was a sloppy game, and it seemed like nobody really wanted the game. You know what? Look, here's what happened. The Raiders last year or years prior, this is a game they would have lost. And somehow they found a way to win it. They were down 14-0. Give them credit for the comeback. And everybody wants to say, oh, Lamar Jackson fumbled. Yes, Lamar Jackson did fumble twice. And that's actually uncharacteristic of Lamar Jackson. But if you see those plays, and even you can go with the Nick Chubb fumble, going back there, those were forced turnovers. You are punching the ball out. It's not like it just squirted out of their hands like soap. This was good, solid. Hey, we're coming around on the strip sacks. We're coming around. Lamar Jackson's running, and the dude punched the ball out while he was in the air. So I mean, these are good defensive plays. Give credit, man. I just feel like there's just so much of the negative, and everybody's just looking at, oh well, the team didn't do that. Man, look, you know what? Give the Raiders credit. They pulled this game out. They were down 14-0. Won this bad boy in overtime. Actually, probably won it twice because they thought they won it the first time, but they were down, and or dude was down at the 1 yard line. And then he threw an interception, and then they came back to get a turnover. So they show resiliency there. That Raiders teams before that, dude,
that was a loss.
Resiliency. Yeah, that's a loss.
Loss in regulation and probably before the half.
Yep. Oh, Miami. Give Miami credit. That was actually a tough physical game with them and the Patriots. And same thing, Miami Tua didn't look the greatest, but he did enough. The defense. It was going to be what I thought, man. 17-16, kind of that defense. Those are two good defenses there. Miami, again, forced a strip on, the running back for New England, Damian Harris, as New England was driving, and they put the game away. Good win for Miami. So, I mean, look, man, it's going to be a fun season as well with there, man. Anything you want to add before we look forward to week 2?
Yeah, one more thing. When you look across all these quarterbacks and all these running backs and these wide receivers and offense, defense, special teams, whatever, look at the amount of opportunity to learn. Look, New England, they lost to Miami. It was a very close game. But understand that Mac Jones, this is his first game in the NFL. So there's a lot of learning that has to go with that. And the fact that he came in and handled the offense, I mean, I'm not going to say that he handled it fantastic at all, but he handled it pretty well. I mean, he's got a lot to learn, and you can see that. So with all these analysis that people are doing and in saying that, oh, New England's out of the running.
It's garbage, dude.
It's week 1. Let's look at the teams. Let's look at these players, and let's watch them develop. Because as much as it's fun to watch your team win, it's also fun to take a step back and watch the players develop and learn their craft. Because they're professionals. They are the elite of the elite. Let's give them time to learn their positions. Let's give them time to learn the game at this level, because it's fast. It's fast. And people think college is fast, but NFL, it's a little different. These linebackers learn angles, and they're able to tackle better. The linebackers are faster. When you look at linebackers back 20 years ago, they're not being tested on your 40-yard dash. They're being tested now. And some of these linebackers are running 4.4s. So just pump the brakes on everything that you hear ESPN say. Go ahead.
On that note, that was another one of the garbage overreactions I had heard. Bill Belichick is not a good coach now.
Oh my God, seriously?
Yes.
Okay. There's another one we need to really pump our brakes on.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. But let's pump our brakes on all of that being said, and let's just watch player development. It will be far more interesting come week 7, week 8 and I can guarantee you everything that you're seeing on the stands and the statistics right now, they'll all be different. Promise you.
All right, Patrick. Well, what games are you looking at for week 2?
Oh man, I ain't even looked at the matchups yet.
All right, cool. Well, while you're looking that up, I'll go ahead and do mine. So the Saints and Panthers, I think, will be an interesting one there. I'm pretty high on Carolina, and I mean the Saints, they're coming off of this blowout of the Green Bay Packers. See how they follow it up. The game is in Charlotte, so we'll see how Jameis Winston looks against a division rival. Carolina, Sam Darnold, and pretty good defense there. I think that could be a close game. Now, one of those sneaky good games, actually, in the NFC South. Then the Chiefs and the Ravens play on Sunday night. That I think will be interesting. Baltimore. Um, I guess I'm not. I think with Baltimore, their defense is going to be really, really aggressive. They're not hesitating to blitz, but boy, the Raiders torched them on blitzes last night. If they don't get to Patrick Mahomes, that could be an easy 45-50 spot. If they're gonna blitz like that and they don't get to Patrick Mahomes, you're gonna leave Tyreek Hill out there one-on-one with those guys. I don't know if you want to do that. So I think Baltimore will have to stir some stuff up. But hey, Sunday night in Baltimore, that crowd, that's gonna be a good environment to see on Sunday night. So that's a game that I'm looking forward to. And there was one more that I think, okay, Cincinnati and Chicago. Now, that one is interesting to me because I want to see if this is the week Justin Fields just takes over the spot. I saw the game where they were playing the LA Rams, and you could just tell, Patrick, there is an energy when Justin Fields is in there that is just simply not there with Andy Dalton. And I'm interested to see now. I know you and I you thought Justin Fields would start week 1.
I did. Because I was expecting that energy. I did.
Yeah, exactly. And, I'm giving it week 4 because the coaching staff, like I said, they play conservative coaching staff. So, but if it gets to the point where the Bears aren't doing anything, I think it's going to get to the point where the head coach Matt Nagy, he's not going to have any choice but to just put Justin Fields in and let him stay in there, especially against Cincinnati. And look, we just talked about Cincinnati. Cincinnati's not going to be that's not going to be a pushover. So,
I still fully realize and suspect, let's put it that way, I fully suspect that Cincinnati will win that game. But Justin Fields needs to be in. I still feel that way. And this is coming from I'm not a huge supporter of Justin Fields. I don't like what he did in Georgia, and I just don't. But kid needs to be in.
So, what games are you looking at?
So I do have a few actually that I'm kind of looking forward to. Thursday night. I don't know why, but I want to see this because this is your pick and my pick on this division, and that kind of makes it a little bit more exciting. I'm probably going more based on the hype between me and you than I am the game at all. But I want to see that because I want to see if I'm right or if you're right. So I'm kind of excited about that game for that reason. Honestly, it's probably about 99% of the reason why I'm excited about that game, truthfully. And then there's one more game that I'm really you mentioned the Cincinnati, Chicago. I was going to mention that one. And you mentioned the Kansas City, Baltimore. But I am looking forward to 2 more games. New Orleans and Carolina, and San Francisco and Philly.
Yeah, I mentioned the Saints and Panthers.
Oh, you did mention that one? Okay, so then San Francisco and Philly. I want to see that one because the way Philly put it on Atlanta. Okay. I'm giving credit where credit's due. This is a show of Patrick giving credit, and I'm not liking the show, but hey.
What?
Hey.
Why are you not liking
because
the show?
Because I have to give credit to teams that beat mine. I don't like that.
Oh, okay.
I'm a little biased today.
Yeah, that's right. No,
but, and it is just a little. But no, I'm pretty excited about seeing that because if Philly plays like that, that makes for a very interesting game.
I forgot who was on the show for a second. I'm sorry, Patrick.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
So, all right. So, well, Patrick, we have a couple more topics to get into. So, let's jump in them, man. In the Browns-Chiefs game, So there's a situation where the safety for the Browns, Rodney Harrison, got into it with the Chiefs staff. So what happened was there was a hit on the running back, his name. Oh, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Ronnie Harrison, he kind of stepped on him, but looking at the replay, it was accidental.
Mhm.
The assistant coach, Greg Lewis, thought it wasn't accidental, and he pushed Ronnie Harrison. Pushed him. Assistant coach pushing a player. And Ronnie Harrison retaliated. He pushed him back.
Good.
But of course, Ronnie Harrison gets ejected. So to me, Patrick, and I mean, I definitely give your view on this. If the player is getting ejected for that, because the thing is, the coaches are the ones who are supposed to set the ultimate example. Yes, you expect the players to set examples, but the coaches definitely have to be the ones to set the example. And if he's out here pushing players, he to me should get a bigger penalty. If the player's getting thrown out, I think that coach got to get fined. He got to get fined and maybe suspended a game or something. Like, he shouldn't just get off scot-free just because he's a coach. Like, to me, that's kind of just inconsistent punishment. And then it goes just simply put, you and I, we both been supervisors. How the hell are we gonna look putting our hands on on subordinates? You know, how about we just keep our hands to ourselves? Okay, that's one thing.
That's actually a really good policy.
Yeah, and number two, if we have troops or guys that we supervise who are over here saying, "Hey, yo, I'll whoop your ass," and then here we are as the supervisors, like, "What? You'll whoop our ass?" Beep. We just go.
That's a block up.
Really? You want to catch these hands like that? That looks horrible on us as supervision. It is the same thing to me as a coach. You cannot do that. If you're expecting the players to conduct themselves in a certain fashion, to me, that's double for the coaches. And I mean, that's where I'm at on it. What say you?
Well, I will say one thing, and this should attitude reflect leadership. Point blank. If you are, and I'll go on the several examples. The one that you said about us putting our hands on somebody as our subordinates. Attitude reflect leadership. If my attitude puts it in a situation where my subordinate wants to beat my ass, that's not his fault. That's mine. As a supervisor, as a manager, that's mine. Because you have to understand, it's one of the things I say. I don't know if I've ever heard, if anybody's ever heard before, or but I think I heard it somewhere, but it's as simple as this. People don't quit businesses. They quit management. And if you cannot manage your people correctly and give them the opportunities that they need to grow or not want to beat somebody's ass, then you don't look at the subordinate and say, what's your problem? There's a reason why you are where you are. And there's a reason why you get paid what you get paid to supervise people. And that's the reason why, if you are going to be in this position, then your attitude needs to be twice as better as theirs. So no, I agree with you, but you also have to look at it from the standpoint of what the NFL sees. You see one push, referees don't see the first push. They always see the second push, because the second push always retaliates into a fight. It's the reason why he got ejected. And I saw that, and I saw kind of where it was going and all that stuff. And as soon as I saw the first push, I was like, oh yeah, player's going to get ejected. Nothing's going to happen to the coach. That's where you have to have organizational self-discipline. And this is my second thing that I wanted to mention. I used to coach my kids, my oldest, in baseball. And one of the things I always told my kids is, you don't talk to the umpire. I do. Nobody else talks to the umpire. And if you get an attitude with him, then I get an attitude with you in practice, and you don't want to see my attitude. Simple as that. Well, a play happened I didn't like. And I told the kids, I was like, if you cuss on my field, you run on my field until I'm tired. That's that. Well, I stepped out onto the field and I yelled and cussed at an umpire. And I always teach another thing I always teach my kids and people I manage and supervise is accountability. I hold you accountable, you hold me accountable. Well, those kids held me accountable, and I ran the next practice to prove my point, saying that nobody is above my laws. My laws are just, which means if I do what I tell you not to do, I got to hold myself to the same exact standard or higher. So, no, I agree with you 100%. If he is pushing somebody, then the organization needs to step in, especially if the NFL is not going to say nothing. The organization needs to step in and say, self-discipline. You're not going to do that on my field. You're fined.
All right, Patrick. Well, shoot, man, we gotta get to this topic before we get on out. That's one of those topics that we're gonna go ahead and put a pin on because I know we can go all day with that. But let's talk about the Toronto Blue Jays because all of a sudden, so we got a quick Major League Baseball topic here. All of a sudden, they're the top team in the wild card, in the AL wild card. I don't know. Last time I checked, they were losing to the Tampa Bay Rays 1-0. I don't know what that score is now. But before today's game, the Blue Jays had won 12 out of 13 games, Patrick. 12 out of 13. Swept the New York Yankees during this stretch, and they swept the Oakland A's during this stretch. Mm-hmm. And then they had the games with the Baltimore Orioles. But whatever. Whatever. They still are taking care of their business.
The Rays beat them 2-0.
Uh-huh.
The Rays beat them 2-0 today.
Okay, so we'll see how Boston and New York does, whether they're able to tie them or take a half-game lead, depending on how those standings work out. I know the Yankees are beating the Orioles and the Red Sox are in Seattle. But the Blue Jays had won 12 out of 13 games, and they had took that over. I just thought that was crazy because they just kind of came out of nowhere. And you remember everybody was talking about the Yankees and all that. Look, long story short about the Yankees, we know this. They got a quick shot in the arm when they got Anthony Rizzo and Joey Gallo. I've seen Joey Gallo and Rougned Odor a long time down here playing for the Texas Rangers. If you want to talk about your prototypical home run strikeout guys, that's what those are. Your prototypical home run strikeout guys. And so when the Yankees picked them up, they really didn't improve themselves as much as they just doubled down with what they already had. This just coming from the left side because that's what those guys are bringing. They're bringing left-handed power, and the Yankees are heavily right-handed power. So regardless, though, Toronto swept them. Went into Yankee Stadium and swept them as part of that 12 or 13. Well, I guess 12 or 14 now. And here they are, number one in the AL wild card. So I guess real quick, Patrick, I know I took up a little bit of time. Sorry about that. You know how I get sometimes with these rants. Do you think Toronto is one of the wild cards at the end of September?
Well, the crazy thing is that they're a half a game up right now, and they are playing great baseball. Just like you said, I mean, there's not really much to add to what you just said, because the Yankees they're going to be shooting for a spot. The Red Sox are going to be shooting for a spot. But at the end of the day, I would have to look at the Boston and New York's schedule for the rest of the season and look at what Toronto's got going on. But the way they're playing if they can continue to play this kind of baseball through the end of September, I would suspect that they would be 2.5 games up above the Yankees, and they would make a wild card.
Yeah, so you can see them getting the second wild card at the
first or second. I think they could get the first or second wild card if they continue to play like this. It's crazy because I didn't see them coming at all. But then they had that 14 or 12, 13, 14 game win streak, whatever it was. And it just catapulted them to the top. I mean, they were like 5th or 6th in the standings, and now they're 1. So it's amazing what happens when you just go out and play baseball and win games, and let everything else, let everybody else do what they do. Just win your games. You control it at that point if you win the games. And that's what they're doing. They seem like they're actually just having fun playing baseball. And that makes for a dangerous team.
All right, Patrick. Well, that will conclude this edition of the Breath of Fresh Air webcast. Y'all make sure y'all visit the Breath of Fresh Air YouTube channel and smash that subscribe button and keep the lights coming on the Breath of Fresh Air Facebook page. Love it, Patrick. So everybody take it easy. Enjoy the games. Patrick had mentioned there's a Thursday night game. It's just Thursday night games all the way through now. So between the Giants and Team Generic. So everybody enjoy that. Everybody enjoy that if y'all get to catch it. And then we will be back here next Tuesday night. Same channel. Y'all take it easy.
Go Dogs.
I can't even say go Longhorns.